Hello and welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining us. I see some people trickling in right now. So I'll just start with some introductions and then hopefully by the time we're done with that, everyone will be in and we can hand it off to Ron. So again, thank you all for joining us. Thank you to Ron for presenting today. This is SEO research to build a successful economic development marketing plan. Just a couple housekeeping items first. I'm sure you all know by now with all the webinars we've been attending. Put your questions in the chat or Q&A section. I'll be monitoring those and bringing them up to Ron as they come in. We'll also have some time at the end for questions, I'm sure. This will be recorded and we'll be sending a follow-up email to everyone that registered afterwards. I believe that's what I've got. So I'm going to hand it over to Ron Kresha.
Thank you, Audrey. And just some thanks to my fellow teammates. Behind the scenes on the technical side, I have Victor from the Golden Shovel team. And so he's back there making sure everything stays up. And then if a connection drops, he picks it back up. So thank you for that. And then, of course, Audrey in the marketing area and all the wonderful things she does to bring information to our clients, as well as those folks who are investigating Golden Shovel and the great resources that we provide. So what I want to talk about today is SEO research to build a successful economic development marketing plan. Over the span of 20 some years that I've been involved with marketing and online activities, social media, SEO has been one of those terms that's been thrown out and used sometimes appropriately, sometimes not so much what I would say appropriately. And I think there's been some companies and individuals that have thrown out, there's a quick fix for it. If you just do certain magical things like fix links and other things, you might be able to move up more quickly in the search engine rankings. But what we have found over all of our research and the many, many plans we've done is that it really does just take a deliberate approach with consistent efforts to yield good results. So on the Golden Shovel side, with our clients, we do quarterly reports and we review those. And many of our clients enjoy the monthly meetings where we talk through how things are going and what kind of traffic and what kind of keywords might be producing some visitors and getting some inbound links. For other clients, we've been asked to go even deeper into their SEO research, and we've really built some very strategic and powerful marketing plans. Other folks have just asked us to come in once in a while and just review their current efforts and give suggestions. So we've been all over the spectrum as to what we do. And while I'll say this, for Golden Shovels, a shameless, we'd love to help you with yours, but I'm also going to share with you many of the things that we do just so that you can do that. We really believe in sharing what we're doing. We're not secretive in our approaches. And I hope that for those in the call that they find this to be helpful. And if you want to tackle some of the SEO stuff on your own, we can help provide you some paths and directions to save you some time. So the first area that I start with and by the way, I'll be talking a lot about the processes that I do because I'm most familiar with how I walk somebody through this process. So the first thing that I will look at with any organization is let's look at their competitive analysis. And I'm looking for three things. What does your brand look like compared to other competitors? What is your digital footprint and what does that presence look like? And I'm looking for three things: how you see yourself. So in other words, if I come into a community, we'll do a survey and I want to know how are the local users and residents, how are they seeing their community? And then I want to know folks outside the community, outside that digital footprint, how are others seeing you? And then the third thing to ask is, once I know the inside and the outside viewpoints, how should you be seen? In other words, how do we best present the community through your online presence? It's important to have a situational awareness, to know how other communities are doing it, how you're doing it in comparison to them, and really getting a best practices approach. The third thing that we do is we leverage opportunities. When we go out and we do this research, what we're really looking for is very simply what things are going well, how do we do more of those, what things are not working, how do we do less of those, and then what new things should be done to improve the results. I begin with a thorough understanding of the current SEO traffic. And when you think of SEO, search engine rankings, really what it is somebody, a user will type something in a query, a keyword, and the search engines are going to try to best match that question or keyword with the most relevant information. And so the trick is to find out how you can provide the best content for items that you want your visitors or your target audience to see. So we need to know what keywords and phrases are people using to find your website. And then we need to know, are those the desired keywords? And you'll see that there's a lot of incongruities on that people are finding a lot of websites and they're not coming through as the targeted audience. So in other words, somebody is searching for something that will never be related to your efforts in economic development or community growth, but they're finding you because the wrong keywords are pointing to you. One of the very, very first things that we do, and I'm going to talk about a fictitious county, Joshua County, but these are some real stats from some projects that we've done, but I just I saved the name. But one of the first things that I do is I go through the last 12 to 18 months of news stories, and I want to know, and I just search the community, and I'm looking for what type of news stories are popping up and what frequency, and I build a frequency table. And the idea for this is getting a sense of what categories that the media and others are saying about your community. And you'll see in this example, this community has sports, education, and government, and just general news and obituaries. Those are the top 5. The economic development and business articles are not making it in the top 5. So when newspapers or media outlets or other organizations and websites in your area are putting out things, they're probably not consulting you as an economic developer to say, hey, what kind of media can we put out for you? And the other thing is, unfortunately, some of the very exciting projects that we find out in economic development, like when a business comes into town or a new site is developed, that doesn't garner the same level of enthusiasm that we might see from, unfortunately, sports events or education or even crime. One of the things that I watch is what crime issues may be coming up. So the best way I can put this just at a simple level is people cannot search or find information that's not readily available. This community here, when I did it, they just simply didn't have a positive or negative online image. They just didn't have an image. And they were really being at the mercy of what the media and the news sources were going to put out about them. So they needed to take ownership and they needed to control that content a bit more. When I do an overview, and this is a very common statistic, this is a very common volume that I see for economic development organizations, because what I'm looking at here is the SEO traffic, not necessarily the Google Analytics traffic. When you look at a Google Analytics or a website traffic statistics, there could be bots, there could be all kinds of things that are scrolling through and hitting your site. I'm looking specifically at what keywords are triggering people to click on and visit your website. And in this graph here, you can see in the last year, this organization had 99 keywords that were ranking them in search engines. And of those 99, they were getting about 36 clicks a month. When I look at this a little bit further for the same organization and I pulled it in comfort in a couple different time frames. At this point, they had 92 keywords, so some of them had dropped off. People were no longer using those keywords to find them, but they were still estimating they were getting about those 36 clicks. Then I look at, are they organic or paid? Organic, anytime we do organic keyword searches, they're the best. However, paid can amplify that. So I look at organic as we're growing and fostering something. We're doing some some online economic gardening. We're making these marketing efforts grow. The paid search really becomes that fertilizer or that rain or that sunshine that we put on to really help something foster and bloom. A lot of times when I look for organizations, they have such low search volume rankings that they can't even be compared with competitors. So in this first organization, you can see that their 99 keywords or 92 keywords and 36 clicks weren't garnering enough to even be looked at and to be competed with other sites. So let's look at a little bigger organization. So here's an organization that has 3,741 keywords they rank for. I won't share the information. I won't share the organization's name, but it's a large organization. And community size does matter because there can be more activity and more things pointing. But I will say this, I've seen some very good smaller communities with a good content who outperform larger communities who just have a lot of news and traffic. So what I would say is a large community, if given all things equal, a large density population community and a smaller density population community, if neither one is doing anything, the larger one will probably always have better traffic and better results because there's just more people searching. However, a smaller community density wise with a really powerful online content plan and some paid advertising can outperform the larger ones very consistently. We see that a lot. So here we have 3,741 keywords that are being ranked for this organization in Minnesota. And of the 374 or 3,741, they're getting about 5,000 clicks. So actually the ratio is good for them. There's more clicks and keywords out there. So that means people are clicking on some keywords multiple times, or those keywords are garnering more and more traffic. Let's take a further look at that. And I'm going to slip off of this slide for 1 second, because when I see a slide, when I see numbers like that, the next thing I do is I pull all the keywords. And you can see here, this is the link that they're at. But what I'm really looking at is, here's all those keywords that are being ranked. And again, it's probably no surprise of what this organization is. It's a larger one in Minnesota. But I'm looking at all, and you can see all of the keyword phrases they're getting for it. Now, one right here is very interesting to me. So, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but look at the detail of that. People are searching for Minnesota grants for women small businesses, and then the traffic volume on that is not great. But that's a golden keyword. And so let me go back up. The next thing I do when I pull all the keywords, and again, you can see this list is pretty comprehensive. That's all 3,742. I then rank, I then sort by rank. So let's see who's getting the number one. So let's sort that from smallest to largest. And you can see these are the keywords that are getting number one rankings. Okay. Now you'll notice, even though those are the number one ranking words, they were not the highest in volume. So let's take a look at who's got the highest in volume. And let's sort that from largest to smallest. And now you can see all my zeros are in the way. So let me get ahead. Let me get down past the zeros. Here's my largest ones. And in this situation, let me get the keyword that has 1,002 or 124,000, or let's go down to the 19s of these, are not ranking high. So what we have is the most frequent keywords are not showing up. I mean, this one right here, 98,000 or 9,800 is 98th. So what we want to try to do is we want to try to match the best ranking with the highest volume. And so you start looking at where you can get opportunities to do that. So one of the things I would do is I would look at this one right here, which is 19 traffic is 19,100, and it's moving down in ranking. It's currently 82, and it's counties near me. So a lot of people are just searching the phrase counties near me. And I'm sure everyone in this call, you have counties near you. what I might suggest you do as a strategy is Joshua County could say, excuse me, Joshua County could take this and make it more specific and say, Joshua County compares very well to counties near or counties adjacent or counties in close, but use this phrase more specifically with Joshua County or your county, and then we can start to tap into some of this volume to get them to actually click. Because if we look, this one here is getting 0 clicks. So as I keep looking over here, I can see how many are getting clicks, how many are not, and you're really starting to compare all that. So let me go back to our slides for just a bit. So let me go to the next one. So then I pull out the top keywords, which you just saw the list there, and I start to look at how they're being compared and how they're being ranked. Then I'm going to look at the top pages because the next thing I want to know is which pages are getting the most traffic. So let me back up and go to our top pages. Then we'll pull that. And you can do this for your website as well. You pull all your top pages and start searching by which keywords are pointing people to those pages. So you can see here the top keywords for this organization are here, and it's going to these pages. And then you can start doing some research to make sure that the keywords that you want are actually going to the right pages, or you can go back to all of your volume of keywords and start writing content on those. So let's talk about those strategies a bit. The next thing I'm going to look for is what keywords are moving. So as I now know all the keywords that I have, I now know the pages they're being pointed to. I now know the volume and I know who's clicking on what. And now I want to know, is there anything moving up or down that I should be watching? Which keywords are trending and why? So for example, if I look over here, Minnesota counties is trending down, or Minnesota state taxes trending down. I probably don't want to be focusing articles on that because either there's too many, it's saturated, there's too many other websites out there, or the information is already being covered in other places. But if I do see things that are trending up, like metro area, I would start writing articles and producing content about the metro area, and I would dig in deeper to what other qualifiers are added to that term. And then inbound links. This is very, very important. And so this is another community that I pulled. Know and be able to pull a list of all the websites that are pointing to you, because you want to know who's pointing to you and why. And there can be good and bad reasons. You can have a website that is pointing to you that's not sending you good traffic, and you can have websites that should be pointing to you to send you good traffic that aren't. But it's very important to manage this because inbound links, or backlinks as they can be called in the SEO world, are really the likes and shares of SEO. So if you think of when you post something on social media and someone hits like or share, that's the equivalent of them sharing a link for you. So really understand who's sending you traffic. And then we go out and we look at all the surrounding companies and websites for a community, and we start to specifically ask them to share the content, because those backlinks are so very critical. The other thing we want to look at is what's newly ranking, what's moving up. This is actually a very typical set of search that I will see for different areas. So when I looked here and I pulled up for this area, which actually is not in Montgomery County, which was interesting. People were finding this web page by searching for Dairy Queen Blizzard Fan Club, Home Depot, and Montgomery County, which was interesting because, like I said, this was not Montgomery County. So that somehow they were getting in the rankings on those. Bingo, People's Gas, Ameris Bank. And what you'll find by looking at your keywords is what really bad keywords do you want to not have associated with you. So it's important to know what those are and really be able to track those. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what research suggests. So you see how we start to build out the how people are talking about you, how your own community views your website, and really understanding what people are doing through the search engines to find a web page. So let's talk about what the research suggests and make sure that we understand how to change the results in the direction we want. Well, we know that 68% of online experiences start with a search engine. And I think that everybody on this call would probably verify that one of the first things we do is we just go right to the search engine and boom, we start typing. Organic search dominates the rankings. All the search engine, and a lot of this is run by Google. Google has a large share in this, but all the search engines like organic content over paid content. Not to say that we shouldn't use paid, and I'm going to talk about, but if given a choice, they will try to find, Google will try to match up organic content. So if I write a unique article, or if I write an article about a certain topic that only I can write about, that's considered organic and it comes up and it's not promoted. Now, there's a lot of articles out there that can be written, and we're seeing this very quickly with AP journalism and all that. So like if the Dow is up 600 points today, boom, there'll be a whole bunch of articles using that same information and that respinning of those. Google will not rank that, will not consider that to be organic as much as if you write a specific article about your community's projects, or maybe you have efforts about a site selection that's gone well and you have some companies coming in. That's more organic to you that can't be found in other places. Then Google takes organic plus paid and it will move them up in rankings. So what happens is once you have good organic content, then you create an ad about that organic. Now, the beautiful thing about that is people don't necessarily click on those ads, but because you have an ad, Google will keep you at the top. And a lot of times we find that just by having a well-placed ad, people will naturally click on the organic links and increase traffic, but your Google advertising doesn't go through the roof because it's just a amplifier. It just keeps you moving. 93% of the time an online search begins with searching keywords on a search engine. So 93% of the time when people open up a browser, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to search. 93% of all searches actually are conducted on Google. We can use Bing, we can use Yahoo, there are other ones out there, and I do look at those, but Google really dominates the world in how searches happen. So we pay attention to that. Every year, Google changes its algorithm about 500 to 600 times. And the reason for that is because this is a very sought after market in marketing, and there's lots of companies that want to try to just find other algorithms that'll help move them up. And I've seen many companies who will say, hey, we do search engine optimization, and they'll come in and they'll just throw a whole bunch of meta tags, or they'll try to place keywords just real all over an article, and Google catches on to that. They have an algorithm to take that out. So, you know, I don't want to say anything bad about colleagues that might be out in the marketing space, but my experience suggests this is just a lot of thoughtful and deliberate effort that has to go into it, and it's not something you can just turn around quickly. 57% of the surveyed marketers say that search engine optimization generates more leads and customers for their business than any other tactic. So getting this right drives more traffic to your website. And over the long haul, if done right, a very good content plan just basically works for you behind the scenes. If you prioritize your SEO and content, you're 13 times more likely to generate a positive return on investment. In other words, if you're going to really focus on your content, you will see a 13x return of visitors coming back, people sharing your content. And then backlinks and content are the most important and impactful ranking factors. So if you're going to start somewhere, start with good content and have people link to your website. That is the number one most important thing, and then everything else you can amplify. There's really no gimmicks or tricks to this. It's just genuine content. I think the hardest thing that I see is people don't have the time, or they don't have a strategy out, and so they don't consistently update and publish content. You need to have all your meta tags, have all of your pages organized, and have really think about the keywords that you want to use and then build content around that. Have a relevant site with bookmarkable links. One of the things that I tell economic developers and our clients all the time is you have a fascinating story. I realize that it's not as exciting, or people find it as thrilling as maybe something that happened in the local sports, but the changes in your economy, your local economic development efforts, all of those are fascinating to the right audience. And so don't be afraid to tell those stories. Don't be afraid to, write your content in a way that becomes very readable and relatable to people. Encourage backlinks. Tell lots of people about your website and send them, when you hear comments, or if you talk to your local organization, say, hey, here's an article. Could you please put this on your website and share it? We're trying to get the word out. And a lot of other sites will do that because they're also trying to build up their content. And you should do the same thing. Reciprocal links are really powerful. Long tail keywords. This is a strategy that we've been employing for quite a while, and it really does work. And so I'm going to share it with you now. The long tail theory is a statistical pattern of distribution. And I apologize for really getting a little bit boring and starting to talk about statistics and all that. It's a world I live in. But really what we're talking about is the frequency of people using and visiting websites and their pages has a distribution level that looks like this. And the long tail theory comes from, actually, Apple had done this, and there was a couple of studies about iTunes and music, and it was about who was listening to what songs. And what they found out was some songs are very popular and they have a quick burst, but other songs, which may not be so popular, but they have a long life. So think of it this way. I grew up in the 80s, late 70s through the 80s. And I can think of the music that I listened to and the music that was popular. But I think about what I go to on a weeknight or the weekends, and I tend to go to the one-hit wonders that were kind of catchy and that I really enjoyed. And I have a lot of those. So the idea is a lot of those one-hit wonders over time, this volume will be more than this quick, exciting music that came out right away. So how does that translate to economic development? Well, when we build long tail keywords, we have less competition, we have higher conversions, and we have a genuine voice and conversational tone. In other words, when we're not going after the popular, we're going after the sustainable, we can get more and more traffic. So here's an example of what we do with long tail keywords. You take a word phrase, you break that into multiple word phrases, and then you add descriptive phrases. Like, for example, early on, we saw this counties near me. How can we take counties near me, which is a very generic that everybody's going to try to compete with, add some phrases to it, and then make it more descriptive and relatable to your individual, and then you'll start to pick up this long tail traffic. Economic development. Everybody's going to try to get the economic development. And then if I add some phrases to that, like economic development administration, and then if I make it even more and I qualify it with more descriptors, economic development strategies for local and state practice, or I might write an article using our friend Joshua County and say, Joshua County's economic development strategies for local and state practices. And what I'm doing is I'm not going after the large volume of traffic of people that are just searching broadly economic development. I'm going after the people that are going to drill down and really try to understand economic development and what might be there. I'm trying to attract their attention. If I look at our county here of Joshua County, I might suggest, rather than using the original just generic economic development, the top 10 economic development success stories in Joshua County. Or if I'm talking about workforce, I would say the best careers or just best jobs in Joshua County, or Joshua County promotes advanced manufacturing sites, or Joshua County real estate prime for medical suppliers. These are topics and titles that I'll use that are going to spawn into content to support the keywords and the traffic that I want. So when you start to think about how you're going to attract an audience, think about the keywords and what they're going to type in the search engine box that you can leverage to get their attention. A lot of times I will look at, well, in fact, all the time, I look at the census data and I look at health and I look at education, economic, other economic indicators and qualifiers. And then I start to write articles about that. So Joshua County, or the county that I was looking at, 78% of the people had a life expectancy of over 76.7 years. So we wrote about that. There was another county that only 4% the people did not have insurance or some type of medical plan. So we could talk about 96% or 94% of the residents boast a very healthy lifestyle, because we know there's correlations between that. So you can write these articles based off statistics that are factually true and lead to the narrative of what your organization is doing. First impressions matter. When you search your community, and don't just search your organization, but search your community, I find this a lot, that obituaries are at the top, taxes come up, crime. There'll be prominent names, individuals from the community. Sometimes they're philanthropists, sometimes they're business people, sometimes they're maybe a local sports, and then other times they're not people with a good reputation. So knowing, and I'll see this a lot when people search for a name, and your community may have those coming up. Rant and raves, I see a lot of times that people will just vent online, and that'll come up this way. And the other one that I point to is adult videos, because I did search engines, search engine optimization and a strategy report for a community about 3 years ago. And one of the things that was coming up was adult videos. And as I looked into it, what happened was the county website had created 3 videos for elderly senior adults, like how to do this, or adult living in that community. So they were talking about senior citizens and how they participate in the community and activities, and they took videos of it. The problem was when the person that put the content out left just generic terms like adult videos. And so what happened is these really well-intentioned good videos about senior citizen lifestyles and the amazing things they could do, they were being ranked right along with adult video sites that were less desirable. So we helped them correct that and redirect some of that content. But that's what I talk about when you really know what's going on and how people are getting to you. So I've given a lot at you for 35 minutes. I want to leave you with 5 simple strategies and then see if there's a question or two that pops up. This, of course, is downloadable and you'll get copies once it's recorded. But what I suggest doing is start with 6 long tail phrases or questions. Find 6 phrases in the next 6 to 12 months that you would start to want to attract traffic for. Sorry, that came out wrong. Find six phrases that you want to attract visitors and targeted traffic. Write a 500-word article for each of those phrases, answering a specific question. Publish at least 1 article a month, and then publish social media posts about the article weekly. Invite other websites to share your content, local newspapers or organizations, and then invite community ambassadors to like, share, and comment on the content. And a lot of people look at this and go, hey, that's pretty simple, I can do it. But I know the realities of time, and I know that we can quickly get pulled into meetings, or phones ring, we get texts, we get emails. So what I actually recommend we do for our communities is we come up with 10 to 12 phrases or questions or content titles, and then put that on your desk. And take advantage of when you have that lull in your day. Once in a while through the week, maybe you sit down and you're like, wow, I got 45 minutes, I should write an article. and then you start thinking, what article could I write? And then you have to brainstorm. So do the brainstorming ahead. Just pick one of those articles right off your list and write that article. And if you start doing that, you can start to get a regular drip of content that can be published and used. Don't try to do this in a week. Don't try to do this in a month. This takes a long time to get a process down. And it really is, like I said, a deliberate, thoughtful approach, but it yields the best results when we try to put that in. Okay, so thank you very much. So those are the questions. Before I see if there's any other quick questions that pop up or let you go, I did want to say, if you want to contact us, the best way, honestly, is just to go to our contact page. Then this all comes through and it gets right to the team, and we don't necessarily have the spam and other things, but I that will get you to our team the quickest, and we're most responsive to that form when they come through. So with that, Audrey, any questions that we have, or did everyone just gain 40 minutes of their day and enjoy a coffee?
It looks like we don't have any questions right now. So if anyone has them, type them quick. Otherwise, I think everyone's processing and gears are turning.
Yeah, that's a lot of information.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, and certainly we don't need to have questions. You know, the best way you can ask questions is contact us, contact myself or Audrey, and we'll still respond to those questions. And I believe, Audrey, we're going to be having this on the website to download as in the future. Is that correct?
Yes, I'll send out an email with the recording and then add these presentation slides as well.
Okay. Well, I want to thank the participants. I want to thank everybody. I hope that you learned something today, or at least gained some new information that can help you in your efforts.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, everyone, for joining.